This is a sample of the information provided as part of the flexible training resources available through HACCP.com. Our training courses are designed to provide training participants with an understanding of food safety and quality system elements and also offer user-friendly assessment activities and competency checklists to complete the training cycle. HACCP, Biological Hazards Management. Key definitions for HACCP, Biological Hazards Management. Acidity, an acid. From the Latin acidus meaning sour, is traditionally considered any chemical compound that, when dissolved in water, gives a solution with a hydrogen ion activity greater than in pure water. Aflatoxin. Aflatoxins are naturally occurring mycotoxins that are produced by many species of Aspergillus, a fungus, most notably Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus parasiticus. Aflatoxins are toxic and among the most carcinogenic substances known, and are found in cereals, oilseeds and nuts when incorrectly dried and stored. Aflatoxins can cause acute liver damage and cancer. Alkalinity, a measure of the negative ions that are available to react and neutralize free hydrogen ions with pH values above 7. Microbiological pathogens, any microbiological entity including viruses, bacteria or other microorganisms that can cause foodborne illness in humans. Biological hazard, the danger posed to food safety by the contamination of food with pathogenic microorganisms such as viruses, bacteria, spores, fungi or naturally occurring toxins. Chemical hazard, the danger posed to food safety by the contamination of food by chemical substances, such as pesticides, detergents, additives, and toxic metals. Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point or HACCP. HACCP is a food safety methodology that relies on the identification of critical control points in all stages of food business processes. Macrobiological, large living organisms. Microbiological, organisms that are usually too small to be seen with the naked eye including protozoa, bacteria, fungi, and viruses. Mycotoxin, a potentially harmful chemical compound produced by some forms of fungi to protect themselves against other microorganisms. pH, from potential of hydrogen, the logarithm of the reciprocal of hydrogen ion concentration in gram atoms per liter. Provides a measure on a scale from 0 to 14 of the acidity or alkalinity of a solution where 7 is neutral and greater than 7 is more alkaline and less than 7 is more acidic. Physical hazard, particles or fragments of items not supposed to be in foods. Vegetative bacteria, bacteria that are in the growth and reproductive phase. Not spores. HACCP, Biological Hazards Management Development. When considering the development, documentation and implementation of HACCP, Biological Hazards Management within food safety and quality management systems, the following information should be considered to ensure effective outcomes. About biological hazards. Microorganisms factors affecting survival and growth. Biological structures. About food microbiology management. When considering the hazards associated with the process steps in the HACCP plans, the three traditional groupings of hazards to consider include biological, chemical and physical hazards. As HACCP plans evolve and customer standards and regulatory requirements become more stringent, often allergens, regulatory hazards, quality hazards and engineering hazards are also commonly considered in HACCP plans. About biological hazards. Biological hazards are situated at the high end of the scale of potential health risk, presenting the very real possibility of immediate and severe danger to the consumer, through ability to cause food poisoning. The majority of food processing operations will be at risk from one or more biological hazards either through the processing stages, or from the raw materials entered into the process. A food safety system is designed to monitor and control these hazards. Biological hazards can be classed as either macrobiological or microbiological. Macrobiological hazards including insects, flies and the like, are objectionable when discovered, but rarely present a genuine risk themselves to food safety in its real context. Poisonous insects are an exception to this, and the presence of such macrobiological hazards simply causes revulsion. Macrobiological hazards may, however, cause an indirect risk through the harbourage of pathogenic microorganisms that may be introduced to food through contact. For example, An insect carrying Salmonella could pose a major threat if it gained access to ready-to-eat food, but would become insignificant as a food safety threat if it gained access to an item to be cooked sufficiently before serving. The insect would be sterilized by the cooking process, and would pose no great food safety risk, becoming a quality hazard instead. It is of obvious importance to ensure that food products are free of microbiological hazards, but it is always important to assess the risk level in a particular hazard. Microbiological hazards are of far greater concern than food safety compared to their macro cousins. Pathogenic or food poisoning bacteria affect the human body either directly or indirectly. The degree to which contamination from microorganisms may occur is directly related to the conditions which such microorganisms are subjected to. Many microorganisms leave food unsuitable for use because the evidence of their presence indicates that the food has been improperly handled. Direct effects come as a result of an infection or the invasion of body tissues and are caused by the organism itself, including bacteria, viruses and protozoa. The indirect effects are caused by the body's reaction to the formation of poisons or toxins that are usually formed within the food that has been consumed. Toxin-producing microorganisms include bacteria and molds. Microorganisms. Microorganisms, as the name suggests, are very small and simply constructed living organisms, which in most cases need a microscope to be seen. Microorganisms can be separated into 5 groups: bacteria, molds, viruses, parasites, algae. Bacteria. Bacteria are single-celled organisms that require significant magnification to be seen. They come in many different shapes, with round, rod, and spiral being the most common. 3 factors that are required for the growth of bacteria are nutrients, sufficient temperature, as applicable to each bacteria and their optimum growth temperature, and time. Bacteria are mostly present in their vegetative form. However, some bacteria have the ability to produce spore forms, which are very difficult to kill with heat or chemicals. Not many foodborne disease bacteria will grow when temperatures reach freezing, but many may still survive. Most bacteria grow slowly at refrigerated temperatures, and growth rates increase with increased temperature. Rapid growth occurs at room temperature. Several bacteria types survive higher temperatures, and a few can tolerate boiling for a short period of time. Some foodborne disease bacteria form spores or protective shells when conditions are not suitable for growth. These bacteria can live for a long time in the spore stage in dry conditions, at adverse temperatures and during exposure to some chemicals. When conditions are suitable again, the bacteria grow. Some foodborne disease bacteria do not grow very well when other competitive bacteria such as spoilage bacteria are present. Cooking food kills spoilage bacteria in the food and contributes to the growth of foodborne disease bacteria. Some bacteria produce a toxin or poison. Cooking the food may kill the bacteria but will not necessarily destroy the toxin. Some important bacteria properties: bacteria reproduce via cell division. Most will not reproduce in acid conditions below pH of 4. They require moisture in food to reproduce. When conditions become unfavorable, spores are produced which are difficult to eliminate and may reproduce again under favorable conditions. Under conditions such as heating, freezing or drying, some bacteria will produce a protective coating around the nucleus of the bacteria. Bacteria reproduce slowly under chilled conditions and stop completely well below freezing point. Although growth has ceased, survival is still possible. Bacterial toxins are divided into 3 categories. Exotoxins are produced by some bacteria. These are heat-stable, and therefore, still poisonous after the food has been cooked. Enterotoxins refer to a broad range of toxins which cause gastroenteritis. Endotoxins occur within the bacterial cell, and are only released when the bacteria dies, or forms a spore. This may occur in the intestine of the host, or on food itself. Moulds. Moulds are plant-like organisms that can be clearly viewed without magnification. Some forms of molds are used as foods, including mushrooms and some cheese varieties, but generally the presence of mold in or about foods indicates a discrepancy in the food handling system. Some molds can produce toxins called mycotoxins or aflatoxins, which can be responsible for food poisoning outbreaks. A prime example of a beneficial mold is penicillium, which is important not only to the production of some cheeses, but also for the production of antibiotics such as penicillin. Some important mold properties: they produce seed-like spores for reproduction, which become airborne upon release and float like dust in the air. Growth requires moisture, food, oxygen and sufficient time. They may grow in weak acid and under chilled conditions. They are destroyed by heat at relatively low temperatures. Viruses. Viruses are extremely small and require enormous magnification to be viewed. Unlike bacteria, viruses do not generally grow and live in food. Food only serves as a vehicle from the source of contamination to the consumer. The primary contamination source is man, either directly or indirectly. A virus commonly attributed to foodborne disease outbreaks is hepatitis. Contaminated shellfish, uncooked foods and foods contaminated after cooking have contributed to a considerable number of hepatitis outbreaks within global food markets. Some important virus properties: they do not reproduce outside the body of their host, but can be transported from the host via contact. Parasites. Parasites include protozoa, are simple single-celled organisms which are often found in water sources such as ponds, ditches, seawater or groundwater. Parasites are often acquired from consuming raw or improperly cooked meats or seafood. Other less common parasites found in, or transmitted by food and water is protozoa. Infected persons transmit the organisms to food via not washing their hands after using the restroom. The larvae of pathogenic flatworms, tapeworms and flukes may infect humans via the consumption of infected meats from pork, beef, fish and shellfish, and wild game. Did you know that HACCP.com includes resources that allow you to create, manage and implement GFSI and HACCP-based food safety and quality programs? Improve your food safety and quality skills and knowledge? Train and develop your team to create better food safety and quality outcomes? Find suppliers and service providers to partner with your business? The information and training resources available through HACCP.com included a variety of formats, such as website content, MP4, MP4 and text, MP3, PDF and slideshow. Are you ready to take the next step in your food compliance journey? Visit HACCP.com today to create your profile and access the full versions of our food safety and quality information packages and much more.